welcome to the Late Night CIO Show with Anthony Juliano.
Excellent. Well, as you guys may know, we often try to do things a little bit different. And I think, after seeing an entire day of panels and fireside chats and presentations, we're hoping to do something very different. And so with that, basically, we've kind of, created this whole concept. I think we've done this a few times now. So for those of you in the know, this is certainly a wonderful, really big shoe that we've got set up here for tonight. We've actually got a wonderful lineup of guests who are actually here with us, who I will love to introduce in a moment. But first, we have our top 10. So, for tonight's show, we have our top 10 worst panel ideas for Landmark CIO Summit 2018. Number 10. Technology. Does it even exist? Number 9, because I'm the CIO, that's why, and other helpful phrases to use with your colleagues. Number 8, the internet is a fad, which actually I think it is. It probably will be. It's not going to be around for much longer. Number 7, I'm so tired of talking about AI. Take me to Westworld already, please. Seriously, let's stop talking about it entirely. Number 6, the Unhackable Enterprise, actually presented by Equifax. So that one's, couldn't put that one in writing. Number 5, the world's okayest CIOs. Those of you in the middle ground, not necessarily on the top, not necessarily on the bottom. Number 4, how to set your default browser to Internet Explorer. It took me a while to figure it out, but turns out it actually is built in that way. You just have to start it. You just don't have to change it. Number 3, hyper-local, dynamic, blockchain-enabled, AI-driven, big data, cloud-based, social, agile, next-gen cybersecurity mobility, and how to use it. Number 2, I lost my data to Cambridge Analytica, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. And the number 1 top worst panel idea for Landmark CIO Summit 2018, the late night show with CIO Anthony Juliano. Wait, hey, hang on, how did this get in here? Come on, I take no credit for that. Well, the good news is we are almost to the end of our program, and we have a wonderful way to close it. So I'd like to welcome up our first guest. Actually joining us first, we have Ramin. That's great. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So Ramin, you just had a newborn.
10 months.
Not 10 months.
But it still feels like a newborn.
It feels like, are you sleeping yet?
No, not at all. No, she hasn't learned the skill of sleeping yet.
Yeah,
it's quite tough.
Me neither. I'll get there someday. I think the kind of concept here is let's have like a little bit of a human conversation. What was your first job?
My first job, I worked for Deloitte when I got straight out of. Oh no, my first job ever.
First job ever.
Ooh, I was trying to sell double glazing on the phone during the summer, kind of back in the UK. So calling people up and asking if they wanted double glazing, so new windows installed. Yeah.
So from Windows to CIO, what happened? You had such a promising future.
Well, I was actually not a bad salesman. I went in the toilet on the first day and cried because it was in a rough neighbourhood, and so I learned some new swear words. Put it that way. But
I can imagine.
But it was quite interesting. But
nothing like asking people to buy stuff, right?
No. Especially over the phone.
So with your role now, so you came into the organization and you've had some background from a media perspective, obviously, and now you're in the Chief Product and Technology Officer role.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Good question. I mean, it means that I'm responsible for all the products that Dow Jones puts into the market. So that's the all the Wall Street Journal products. We have other titles like Barron's, Market Watch, a real estate site called Mansion Global, and then we've got a whole B2B suite of products as well, like Factiva, who some people might have heard of. So I look after all the product development, the engineering, the infrastructure, the support, the network. So anything tech, basically, anything that goes wrong.
Sounds good. And what goes wrong? Nothing ever, because it's perfectly.
It's obviously everything's absolutely perfect, like the gentleman was on stage before me. Quite a lot's gone wrong. We have a lot of old technology that underpins some of those products. So for the last couple of years, we've been doing quite a major overhaul, which I'm sure some people in this room will be familiar, to replace what we call legacy.
I believe the term is heritage.
Yes, heritage is the right word. Yeah. So that's been a huge, actually, undertaking, huge change actually for us.
So how long have you been with the organization?
So I've been with Dow Jones for 4 years.
Okay.
But I've been part of the News Corp family for 7, which is a long time.
In your current role, what would you wish that you had known before you had joined?
I'd probably wish, like before I joined Dow Jones, I probably would have wished to know how much crap there was.
They didn't just tell you that on the interview?
No, amazingly, they didn't tell me that in the interview. No one ever so when I got the CIO role, which was before this one, I remember asking like where all the data centers were. And they said, we don't have that written down anywhere. Right, so someone had to go and actually find where the data centers were, let alone what was in those data centers, let alone how old that stuff was. So I kind of wish I was a bit more eyes open as I walked in this role. But it's fun because when you've got kind of that lower bar,
sure,
you can only but succeed.
I mean, hey, I found the data centers. That's like a great thing.
I was like, that's it, done.
Pop it on the resume.
It's on my CV.
What would you tell your successor? Where the data centers are?
Do you know something that I don't know?
No, not yet.
I think the other thing on a positive note that I would say is the amount of data that we've got access to. Dow Jones isn't just a media company. It actually has access to a whole wealth of data. So I'd probably tell my successor to I've done all the hard bit. You can do the fun bit now in terms of kind of innovating with some of that data.
Well, it sounds awful. Why wouldn't you stick around for the fun?
No, that's why. I'm not planning on going anywhere.
Keep your job. Keep your job. Okay, good. Well, we'll talk more in a second. I'd like to welcome up our next guest. So joining us as well, we have Rob Tarleton. Rob, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Rob, obviously the Lincoln Center is a small organization that is not really culturally significant at all.
No.
Tell us a little bit about maybe same question for you. What was your first job?
My first job was sliding newspaper inserts at 4 o'clock in the morning at a chocolate shop up in the center of town.
That sounds amazing.
You know, a lot of people don't even know what the heck that means, sliding in newspaper inserts. But back before automation.
You got a news guy.
I do. If you want to come back ever.
No. But.
So I guess, in that same kind of vein, you had this bright future in inserts for the chocolate shop. Why would you leave and go do technology? It seems like a thankless job. Everyone thanks you for ad inserts, right?
Well, interestingly enough, one of those tests you take when you're a senior in high school that tells you what you should focus on in life said the one thing I shouldn't do is technology.
And you hate to be proven wrong.
Well, my grandfather always said there's no sense in being Irish if you're not going to be stubborn. So,
that makes sense.
Fair
enough. So how did you come to Lincoln Center in particular? What drew you to it? Why are you here?
I've known Lincoln Center my whole life. I've been to the opera and a number of the cultural organizations there a number of times. A colleague of mine had joined Lincoln Center 2005 or so as CFO, and they were embarking on a $1.2 billion capital reconstruction of the entire campus. And he called me up and he said, technology is supposed to be a cornerstone of this, and it's a mess. Get over here and fix it. We had worked together twice before over 15 years. I said, let's do it.
Well, and I got to say, from everything we've talked about and knowing a little bit of the things that you've implemented, you have done a fantastic job of really cinching up and creating a cornerstone for that technology. What's in the future? I mean, Lincoln Center is, obviously a very particular cultural center for a lot of reasons, and I wouldn't think the technology were as embedded, but even in our conversations, I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on. So what's that next thing?
It's been an interesting transition over my 12 years there. It's now all about what can technology do to change Lincoln Center so it's patron focused, and that's where we're focused is on the patron. I know I was talking to Charles Sims from the Clippers just after the last session, and we're both focused on increasing the patron experience. Lincoln Center for a very long time looked at ourselves the way we wish people had seen us.
Sure.
Because Lincoln Center, what a lot of people don't realize is there's actually 10 501c3 not-for-profit organizations that reside on 16 acres on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Getting them all to work together is like herding cats. And we all wish that they saw us as us, whether you're talking about the Philharmonic or the Ballet or the Opera or Lincoln Center itself. But the way people see Lincoln Center is, it's a place I want to go buy tickets, it's a place I want to go visit. They don't know that there's a distinction, nor do they care, nor should they care. So about 24 months ago, we started flipping the script and started developing products and redeveloping products with that in mind. They shouldn't care.
It's almost like a rebranding exercise in a certain sense,
huge.
right? You know, and I like that concept of patron-centric. I think it goes back to the customer centricity we talked about in some of the digital transformation stuff. I guess same question for you. You know, what do you wish you had known before you joined?
That I was going to end up.
Did you know where all the data centers were? Because I think that's a.
No. Lincoln Center is 16 acres times 4 levels beneath ground on top of that. There was places I didn't know existed on Earth that I ended up crawling through in suits that went straight to the garbage when I got home, because you were 4 levels below ground.
I'm sure.
But what I didn't realize was, coming from a for-profit environment, is what an advocate and fundraiser and salesperson I would have to be to sell Lincoln Center, because Lincoln Center is, as everybody knows, is one of the finest places for performing arts in the world, but they put the majority of their money on stage, not into technology, which means I have to find creative ways of getting large technology companies to want to exploit the name Lincoln Center for their own benefit so that I can get products at a price I can afford.
Sure.
And that has become a very large portion of my job for 12 years.
Oh, that's great.
To do more with less, literally.
Now, you've taken up CrossFit, right?
I'm avid CrossFit and obstacle course racing at this point, yes.
Wonderful. And so what is CrossFit?
CrossFit is a class-based workout that will bring you to pass out, throw up, or both at the same time on a regular basis in a course of about 50 minutes.
Sounds wonderful. Where do people sign up for this? No, I don't want to know.
No.
Nobody wants to know, trust me.
CrossFit is all about total body fitness so that you can enjoy the rest of your life the way you want to. That's really what it's about. Everybody sees these CrossFit games and these big folks that are going for the fittest man on earth. That's what they put on the ads. But the basis of CrossFit is about being fit enough to be able to enjoy your life the way you want to.
And to be able to crawl into those data center spots really more effectively.
Oh, I was 100 pounds heavier then.
Oh, so now you can do it, right? Well, thank you. We'll talk more in a second. I'd like to welcome up our third guest. Please welcome to the stage, Miguel.
How are you doing, man?
Miguel, welcome.
Thank you.
You've been busy.
Yeah, well, not really. I'm former everything. So
Well, no, that's why I say you've been busy. You've been the former of everything at this point, man. So I feel like there's big news, and you may be in between all of it, but we'll get to it in a second.
Yeah.
I'd love to learn a little bit more about Miguel. What was your first job?
My first job was probably, I don't know if it was legal, to be honest with you.
Earmuffs.
I was a young kid, entrepreneur vibe, so I was flyering for a barbecue sandwich shop, and they paid me with barbecue sandwiches.
That sounds perfectly legal to me. Yeah. I try to pay my employees with barbecue sandwiches. It works out well.
And I don't know why I ever gave that up. I mean, retrospect.
I wasn't even going to ask you.
Yeah,
no one knows why you give that up. But you have had an illustrious career in the public sphere. kind of in San Francisco, New York, and beyond. What brought you to being in technology, and specifically on the public side, right? I mean, I get the nonprofit side; it's very noble, and the public side, that just seems like a headache. I don't really understand why people do it.
Yeah, that's a great question for somebody else. I don't. It's funny, a little different but similar story. My first experience with technology was in high school, and I remember going home and telling my parents I wasn't sure yet what I was going to be when I grew up, but it was going to have nothing to do with technology. And that's what happens when you think you know what life's going to...
I wanted to be a lawyer. That was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
But what changed...
Sorry, whoever the lawyers are on there, I'm sure there's one or two.
What changed for me, though, was it became more about engaging with people and less about kind of what happens behind the closed door that you slide pizza underneath, right? And it really became about, I don't know if it was pop culture yet, but it was like some subculture, in the mainstream. And so it made me realize, wow, there's something here that can leave a mark on the world, and that mattered to me. And so I did that as a startup entrepreneur first. I founded a couple companies in the early 2000s, and then was on a break trying to find my next calling. Thought about barbecue sandwiches a couple times, and I got tucked into being, finally doing good work and giving back. And so in my hometown in El Paso, Texas, I was recruited. They talked me into, convinced me to be the CIO there, and then I thought it was going to be a 18-month stint, and almost 8 years later, I've served 3 cities. 3 cities.
Wow. So talk to us a little bit about what you've done at those cities, and most recently in this fair city, which is the best city, obviously. So maybe if you can share a little bit, obviously you come in and have this kind of innovation angle. What is that?
Well, truthfully, a lot of it was finding the data centers and and being paranoid about.
I sense a theme, ladies and gentlemen.
It really, I think that is true. It's a really true story that tech just kind of grew by sprawl, right? Reacting and responding to what the business thought was opportunities, regardless of whether that's public sector or the private sector. And I think, so those of us that came into those scenarios kind of a phase later, we're trying to find the data centers and trying to figure out where does this cable go, right? And is there a hacker on the other end of it? And so I think that was a lot of it was really just the boring, unpopular work of that. But what the interesting part was about the city chapter of my life was I saw how directly and quickly technology could have an impact on people's lives.
Sure.
And the most fundamental thing that I believed in very early on was broadband access.
The access to internet, absolutely.
Everything we're doing in business and in government that is about digitizing and creating new cool products and kind of making life better, if we don't ensure that everyone has access to that new, better world, then we're creating a wider divide instead of a narrower one. And so that was, when I look back, that was very much the consistent theme, was about ensuring kind of equitable access to all the greatness that a bunch of brilliant people are building in our future.
And so you were doing such a wonderful job at New York, but now you've left and you quit. Why'd you stop?
Well, I need to think about my marketing strategy because normally you'd come on the talk show circuit after you release the book so that you can get people to buy the book.
You're not able to tell us yet?
I still can't tell you the name of the book,
Come on, we were so close.
I know, we are so close.
We were so close.
Early next week it'll be out. I'm really excited though because I'm going back to private sector, but I'm going into an environment that is really focused on having me build on the work I've done and sharing that portfolio, that program that we've developed over 8 years of public service with cities around the world. So the target is to scale this to hundreds of cities around the world.
Okay, so we'll try and trick you into telling us later, but for now,
is there tequila somewhere? Because that might help.
At the cocktails, there is tequila. Actually, can we get some tequila up here? Great. So let's talk for a moment. I asked this question at the beginning, and I kind of asked you all a little bit too. Why are you here? Right? And why are we here? What are we really doing? And I think there's this digital renaissance concept. Am I just absolutely full of it, or are we at the beginning of a digital renaissance? Is there something going on that's different, that seems fundamentally different in your careers, in your personal life? Or am I just far off? I mean, am I anywhere near Ramin? Rob?
I think that because of the Amazons and Googles and the others of the world, patrons expect that experience to permeate their life. They expect it from Lincoln Center, and they expect it from every size of organization, because that's the experience that they're used to. And quite frankly, for smaller organizations and not-for-profits, that's a tall order, but yes.
Well, and Ramin, you're in a not-for-profits, or it's non-profit.
The odd one out, yeah.
Non-profit sector, or you just don't make profits anymore?
We don't make profits
Okay,
anymore. We had our digital renaissance. We have to have a digital renaissance. No one buys newspapers anymore.
Yeah,
but it's similar actually to what Rob said as well. It's not only the customers that are making that demand, the employees are as well. So like the whole chain, the whole world of kind of how you come to work and how you do your job has completely changed because of kind of the consumerization of tech. And the other reason why I'm still here is because tech's become cool again.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of much more important. We're no longer the kind of back office people anymore. We have a seat at the table. We have a seat on boards on the exec. So that's a huge shift, I think, fairly recently as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think to build on that, though, I think that the future of work is one of those buzzwords probably that could have been in that number, whatever it was.
It's on there.
But it's true. I think the way that people contribute to society is going to change. I don't think
It has to, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't think it's going to be. If you look, just be kind of provocative for a minute. If you look at the industrialization, right? We went from an agrarian society where we bartered and traded whole goods or things, and to a society that was focused on an hourly wage. But it took a long time to get from here to there, and people died in the process, and it built the construct that we live in today. And I think there is a digital revolution that is coming that will also, I think, just as dramatically change the nature in which people contribute to society and are compensated for it. I think what we consider work is going to change, full stop, and in a faster pace than physics was helping us before.
Sure.
You can only build the railroad so fast physically, right? But digitization happens exponentially, so that shift is going to happen much quicker. We don't have the benefit of Mother Nature's attrition. People were dying of natural causes during that last transition, and I think that transition is going to be compressed so significantly now that people are going to have to be reinvented maybe multiple times inside their lifetime.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. I mean, we talked a little bit about this with 800 million jobs disappearing by 2030, right? It's going to be nuts. Maybe kind of going down the list. So we had the 5 pillars that we talked about, becoming a data-driven enterprise. What are you guys doing in data at Dow Jones? What are you doing in Lincoln Center? And where, I guess in your future, at a company not to be named, shall there be data involved? Maybe Ramin, start.
It's actually, and this is why tech's become cool again, as cool as it can ever be. But one of our 3 pieces of the strategies for Dow Jones is to actually be a data business. I said before, what I tell my successor is, and something I didn't know walking into the job, is how much data we actually sit on. And our CEO understands that, and he wants to pivot the organization to actually sell data, to become more of a data business, use data to actually power our products. So for me, it's actually really pertinent. It's a big transformation.
Monetization, the actual using that data effectively to drive revenue.
Basically, yeah, exactly that, yeah.
Are you doing the same? I mean, it's more about being customer-centric or patron-centric, right?
Absolutely. What I've said a lot is Lincoln Center was excellent at generating data and terrible at using it. We now have a project that we now know where we're putting the data, and we're turning it around to actually drive the patron experience and customize the patron experience for the individual patron. Because now that we've gotten down to cleaning the data, we know that you're a dance person, and we know we know what performances that you've gone to, and we know that you're a member or a donor, and we know that Mark Morris is tonight, and we know you don't have tickets to it. So when you walk on campus, we'll know that too now. And we can ask you if you'd like tickets to Mark Morris tonight, and here's a link, and click this for 5% off.
Yeah.
It's turning it around and offering folks performances and services at Lincoln Center that we know you'd be interested in instead of just blasting it out there.
That's driving that digital engagement, right?
Yeah.
And that's important.
Personalized digital engagement that you'd be interested in.
And maybe, Miguel, in lieu of telling us about your future and divulging the name of the company, which is...
Correct.
Okay. Just throwing it out there. Maybe tell us a story from your time as CTO of New York. You have colleagues in the audience. You know, we had your deputy CTO giving kind of a presentation around some of the NYCX stuff, which was really your pioneering achievement. But give us a story, something fun, something that we would love to know. That maybe you wouldn't have been able to tell us when you were CTO a few weeks ago.
Something fun about working in the city of New York.
Oh, come on, there's something.
Maybe I should go the easier route and tell you where I'm going next.
Okay.
Not just,
Oh.
no, I think what was fun. I don't know if Jeremy shared this earlier, but we saw some really exciting things happen when we went into communities and asked them about what their issues were, what their priorities were, and never having a technology conversation. We were talking about like people's experiences and their challenges and concerns in Brownsville, Brooklyn, for example, right? And then only after hearing that and surfacing the priorities, we came back with a call to innovators and technologists that answered that question. And so what was fun about it was to see the community, their eyes open to, wow, you mean tech can help me have access to healthy food? Or you mean tech can help me feel safer walking around my community at night? Things like that they didn't make those connections until we facilitated that. And then all of a sudden you saw this engagement happen, and it was really cool. We had some really great outcomes with public housing in Brownsville. We had our challenge on Governor's Island. It was, I don't know if it's a fun story, but interesting story. Like the award winners had to come out and prove their technology.
Sure.
And it was the disastrous day. It was one of the cyclone bomb, whatever it was called. And we thought about, should we call off the demo day? We said no, because this is the reality, right? Their stuff's going to have to work in this environment. Long story short, that one guy dropped his laptop in the Hudson. Another guy almost cut his finger off. I think someone caught pneumonia. But
a good time was had by all.
But the cool part was every single one of them, as bad as that kind of part of that experience was, I'm not joking. Every single one of them afterwards sent me an email thanking me for giving them that experience of a true partnership with the community and the city. And so even though there was a digit and a laptop and someone's health as a consequence, it was you saw this like organic relationship build that I think will continue to pay dividends. I think tech has a better appreciation for the real issues that communities are faced with, and the community has a better appreciation for tech's role in helping with that.
The gift that keeps on giving, pneumonia.
Yep.
So which was more fun, being the CIO for San Francisco or the CTO for New York?
Everyone asks me to compare cities. It's like having two kids. You love them both for
I'm
different
from the Bay Area, so I get this question a
Yeah.
lot. I'm so happy you actually, and that's usually my response too, and I don't even have kids. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe asking a different kind of question on the San Francisco side. I feel like there's a lot of tech and entrepreneurs and a lot of people who think they're a lot smarter than you are in San Francisco in general when it comes to technology. So was that at all a challenge on the CIO side?
It was. I mean, it was a blessing and a curse, right? Here's the joke that I tell about San Francisco versus New York. If you go in San Francisco, if you go out to a bar or a coffee shop, every single person in the room is either working at a startup, working on a startup, or dating someone at Google. Full stop. Every single person.
It's actually similar to LA. You're either working on your script,
Exactly.
or you're acting, or you're dating Harvey Weinstein. So
Exactly. Right. Those are right. Or being dated by Harvey Weinstein.
Someone who dates, there's something in there,
And in New York, I find that I'm in rooms where I might be the only technologist. And that has been a very enriching experience to have conversations with people about all kinds of other industries and other things. That's helped me think more broadly. So, we throw...
So New York's better is what you're saying?
Yeah, really. We throw this diversity word around a lot.
It's true.
But the truth is, it's a real thing. And here, it's super special.
So I think maybe kind of, I'll call it lightning round. Ramin, blockchain, buy or sell?
Sell.
Buy.
Buy.
Really? We have a split dais. I like it.
Blockchain or cryptocurrency?
Blockchain. Bitcoin.
Buy it, please.
I'll agree with that. I have some there too. No. What about cybersecurity on all of your? We didn't talk much about the protected enterprise, but I think blockchain could be an interesting kind of technology around some of that, from a transparency and accountability perspective. But why are you a sell on blockchain?
I hope it will be. The promise is definitely there. But I've been hearing about that for, I think, 10 years, about the same amount of time as I first heard about the cloud. And people are still doing proof of concepts. Nothing's still kind of permeated, apart from the cryptocurrency stuff. But it could be. The premise behind it is fantastic.
Actually, in the public sector, there's more interesting things happening than not. There was like a title insurance thing that happened in Illinois that's worthwhile. AI, buy or sell?
Buy.
Buy.
Buy and beware.
Buyer beware.
Buy and beware.
And beware, that makes sense. And then I guess maybe the last one, privacy, buy or sell? It's a trick question. It doesn't exist anymore. It's fine.
Hold.
Hold is an option. I like it. What would be your parting words, I think, to your successor, or maybe, I guess, actually, let me ask this a different way. What about your career would you want written on your retirement plaque?
Oh, thanks, guys. Both just look round. This may be a bit boring, but made sensible decisions. I think if
it's very boring.
That is boring. But there's so many people that kind of come in and you're like, why did you do that? Like, why did you go down that route? Why were you influenced to make that kind of call? And I kind of always think about the person who comes in after me and just thinks that at least they can't say it wasn't sensible or there wasn't logic behind the decisions I made. God, that is really boring.
Oh, wild child. It's okay. You'll get some sleep someday. Someday she'll sleep. Rob?
He didn't just leave it better than he found it, he created.
I like that, the concept of creating and building.
So to be properly modern, it's a hashtag.
Okay.
But we've actually been using it, make tech work for people. And it's to espouse the notion that this stuff should make a difference in people's lives, or else we should, reconsider whether we're doing the right thing at all.
Well, it's really interesting and an honor to have you all on this panel. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Some quick thank yous. I want to thank, please. I want to thank actually our partners. I want to thank our sponsors for the event. I also want to thank everyone who was on the Landmarks event team that helped put all this together. Sam, Zach, Sarah, Dan. Thank you, everyone. And most importantly, I want to thank all of you for joining. Thank you for staying to the end. Thank you for listening, participating, and sharing your ideas. These things don't work without you. It takes a village to raise an event like this, and we really look forward to seeing you again next year. We have a number of other events coming up in the meantime. You'll probably get 10 to 15 emails from me alone about them, and we'll see you then. So let's go have drinks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.